Hi everybody, it's Jenny from the Missouri Star Quilt Company, and I'm here with my daughter Natalie.
Hi.
And we have something really special to share with you today. We want to share the story of my grandmother. Her name is Ingrid Nystrom, and she came from Sweden.
Yep.
She came here with her family when she was 7.
She was the youngest of 13 children.
She
and
was.
Most of her sisters worked as seamstresses.
They were fabulous seamstresses.
Yeah.
But she never really learned to sew because they sewed for her.
Yep.
You know, she was
the baby, so she got to do the fun stuff, the embellishing and the pretty things.
That's exactly right. And her mother taught her at a very young age how to embroider. And so embroidery became her art. She loved to embroider, and she would embroider flowers that she'd seen, flowers that she made up.
All out of her head. And I don't
flowers.
remember coming over where she wasn't working on a project.
Yeah, always. Very, very busy. Little tiny Swedish woman.
But also very practical. She loved to use the denim that you would cut
Right. My job was to cut the family's pants.
Jeans that had been worn out
into
so that
squares.
she didn't have to go and buy fabric. She just loved to use the reuse.
And she would sit, and I don't know if you remember this, but when she lived to be 100.
Yes.
And when she got older, it got harder and harder for her to grip that needle. And so she would literally embroider with needle nose pliers. She would pull that thread through, grab that needle with the pliers and keep doing it. She loved doing it. It gave her something to keep her hands busy and to do every day. And literally, I have made a lot of quilts with those blocks of flowers. And I actually didn't even know I was quilting at the time. I was just sewing things together for her. And
just following the directions.
Let's show them my quilt. So
I also remember if she wasn't embroidering, she was sketching these. She always had colored pencils and would draw them on every little thing.
That's true. That's true. So this is a very large queen size type quilt.
Yes.
And this is mine. And as she would give me flowers, I would save my favorites to make my quilt out of. But I've probably made half a dozen of these.
For all the siblings.
For the siblings.
Your mom. And
my mom got one, And then the girls, I noticed when I was going through my stuff, the girls have a baggie that's like Natalie's blocks and Sarah's blocks.
Yeah. I think I probably have maybe like 10 or so. I
don't know. I don't know. We have a few. But anyway, we fell in love with her embroidery and we wanted to share that with you. And so we actually came up with a quilt and a pattern that's not so overwhelming as a queen size.
We wanted to simplify it, make it a little bit easier than the overwhelmingly large quilt.
Right.
Go with something that's achievable.
So we actually came up with this kit, and this is called Ingrid's Framed Squares. And this is for this basic quilt right here that's just squares. So literally you could put anything on it you wanted to. Even
this is your canvas.
Yeah, this is your canvas. This is the beginning. But then we also came up with an embroidery quilt. Now I'm super proud of this, and I think she would be super proud of this.
It's so beautiful.
It says Ingrid's Wildflowers, an heirloom embroidery kit. And this one has all the fabric, but this one has all the embroidery stuff.
Right.
I love the back. The back shows exactly what's in the kit. Has a little picture of her here in the 40s.
Tells a bit of her story.
But let's take a look inside and just look and see what's in this embroidery kit.
It's beautiful.
It is beautiful. And so it has a pattern. It comes with a hoop. It comes with all these different threads. And let me tell you about these threads, because I actually chose pearl cotton because I don't love the job of splitting the threads.
Yes.
When you use
classic
a regular
embroidery
floss, you split it into 2 strands. And pearl cotton is already 2 strands. And so it's really easily. This actually works as a spool holder, so you can pull the thread out of here and it will hold your spools.
Nice.
But this center part right here, I just love. And if you open it up, you get her picture.
There's a couple different needles, a needle minder, some beautiful scissors, and a needle or a threader.
Yeah, a needle threader, because sometimes those of us who get older can't always see that little hole.
It's just easier to slide that through the needle.
It's beautiful. And it says, it has a little bit of her story in here. Let me read it to you. It says, my grandmother Ingrid emigrated from the U.S. from Sweden in 1912. She spent her later years embroidering hundreds of intricate wildflowers on denim squares. I learned to quilt by piecing each embroidered block together. Little did Ingrid know her embroidered quilts would be loved and cherished by generations to come. I think she'd be so proud of this. So then we also have instruction cards, and these are so lovely.
Yes, we chose 20 of our favorite flowers
Off
to
of my
start
quilt.
with. And so these are her original designs, and
we made them up for you, and we show the stitches that you need.
Yep.
So it's got, you know, how to make a running stitch. It's got all the stitches, so it's right here all together for you. And then it has the actual blocks. But even more than that, we came up with these blocks right here.
Yeah.
And these are
stick and stitch.
Stick and stitch. These are my favorite because you literally take them off, you peel them, you put them on your denim square, and
it's like a sticker. So you just peel this backing off and stick it
on the denim square.
Hang on.
And then you embroider right on the top of it. And when you immerse it in water, it's like magic.
It dissolves.
It dissolves. It goes away. And so it's just such an easy, great way to be able to stitch all these together. I've loved doing it. I've loved stitching them. I just think it's just super amazing, you know, how it all came together. I think it's beautiful. I love the tin.
Yeah, it's beautiful. It's something that you could keep all of your embroidery supplies in for whatever projects come. And then if you want to make multiples, you can just grab another kit.
That's right.
You don't have to get them both at the same time.
It's 100% true.
But I love that this comes with the stitch information that you need, and then also suggested colors. Now you can change them up. If you don't want to use that color, use whatever color you like. These
I
are
was actually working on one
going to be completely your own.
And I didn't actually like the way the stitch was coming, so I added another color in the middle, and it just was like, ooh, I really like that. And it, you know, I just almost kind of felt like she was over my shoulder going, yeah, whatever you want to do.
Be creative, have fun with it.
So all these come together in this nice tin with this hoop, with this pattern.
Yeah. So if you're buying each one separately, they do each come with their own pattern. And that's just because one is a blank canvas and gives you options. This also has a little variation in it, the framed squares pattern, so that if you decided you wanted to use 10-inch squares and not cut them down, you can.
Because we actually start with 10-inch squares, but sometimes when you embroider, it can scooch up. So
and especially after soaking it in water and dissolving it, it can get a little misshapen. And we just wanted to have plenty of room to trim them down so that they come out perfectly square.
So we trimmed them up all to 8.5.
Yes.
And shall we just go ahead and show them?
Yeah, we can get started and show you. When you put this denim quilt with this wildflowers quilt, you are going to get a quilt that looks like this.
Look how beautiful this is. So this is 20 squares.
I love it. I think it would look so great hung on a wall.
Well, it feels very heirloomish. And, and at my stage of life, I'm wanting to do some things that are a little bit more heirloomish. And so I really love that we did this, that it's all my grandmother's art. And Natalie and I both, embroidered these, and Jackie helped us too. And so it's been really fun to see. And so let's show them how to make it.
I absolutely love it. I can't wait.
All right, so let's show them how to make the basic canvas quilt.
That's right. Okay.
All right.
So to make this quilt, you're going to need a pack of dark denim squares. And we have several different colors of those, which is wonderful. We used the Indigo Denim and Light Indigo Washed Fabrics by Robert Kaufman.
And we used 24 squares for this.
We only actually used 20, but we call for 24 just so that you have a little room for playing around.
In case you
There's a few extras in there, so no worries on that. The inner border and sashing is this light denim, and it is beautiful. You're going to need a yard if your fabric is 44 inches wide, but typically denim is 56 inches.
Yeah, it's a little bit
So
wider.
the denim that we used is 56 inches wide. You'll only need 3/4 of a yard of that.
So a little bit less.
Yep. The rest of the yardage is the same, whether it's 44 or 56. So for your outer border, you'll need 3/4 of a yard, and that is a 4.5-inch border.
And of course, that's up to you. You know, that's completely up to you.
I mean, if you want to buy a little extra fabric, you can make a bigger border. No worries. binding is 1/2 yard, and backing is 3 1/4 yards.
So I just want to talk about denim backing for a moment, just for a moment, because denim, you'll notice when you have your jeans on and you sit down on the ground, nothing sticks to them. And so the denim backing makes a great backing on all kinds of quilts, especially picnic ones.
Yes,
because it literally is, it's sturdy, it doesn't wear out, and nothing really sticks to it. Sand.
Well, and because it's 56 inches wide, you can get a much wider quilt, whether
so I do
your
love a
quilt
denim
is
back.
small enough. I mean, this quilt is 50 by 60, so you could put it on one piece, the right length.
Now, I wouldn't put this one on the ground, but this denim backing.
Yeah.
I love a denim backing. So I just wanted to hit on that for a second. Oh, the quilting pattern on this is variety. And
this one is posies, but the frame squares is variety.
This one is variety.
But honestly, it looks great in any machine quilting pattern that you pick. You can embroider or you can put the machine quilting right over the embroidery.
So that's actually what I wanted to talk about. When I made my quilt, I was afraid to embroider over the squares. And then
do you want me to grab it so we can show the difference?
Sure. So I just had my long armor quilt just on the sashings. And when you see the embroidery over the whole quilt, like here, oh, I love that look so much better.
Yeah, I actually do too.
And what happens when you go ahead and quilt over the embroidery is it literally is going to keep those stitches intact much longer.
I think it strengthens it.
It does. Mine are going to wear out faster because they're just loose there. And these are stitched down in lots of places, but you can't really see it. And so I love that. I actually quilt over I do a lot of embroidery quilts and things like that.
Yes.
And I just quilt right over the top of them.
Just do a quick edge to edge.
It's just beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah. I love it.
So shall we show them how to make it?
Yeah, let's get into it.
All right. So it's pretty easy. You can imagine it's just framing around your squares. And I actually have some embroidered squares over here that I've done. And I wanted you to see kind of how ratty looking they get,
Yeah.
So I've done this one. It started as a really nice 10-inch square. You have it hooped, you're carrying it with you, you're embroidering wherever you go. And it just gets a little ratty. And then you put it in water. And sometimes you stitch over it and it can scooch up a little bit. And so it's not quite 10 all the way around anymore.
No, it definitely shifts and gets a little bit off. But let's go back to just the squares.
Okay.
Because we start with 10-inch squares.
Okay.
And I have a couple of those here.
Perfect.
And if we're going to do embroidery on these squares, now if you're not going to do embroidery, you can leave them at 10 inches and sew them all together. You can applique on it. You can do whatever you want. If you're going to do embroidery, though, what we're going to do is we're going to grab one of our, we're going to open up our kit here, and we're going to have our hoop. And the first thing that I do is, select the one that you're going to work on. And we're going to stick one of these little papers to our square. And what I like to do is fold it in fourths so that you can find your center. It doesn't have to be perfect. So if it gets a little off, no big deal. You're going to trim it up. That's why we have that extra space.
Yeah.
So you don't have to stress about it. But I like to kind of have like a center point.
And literally you just peel it off like this.
Yes.
And you're going to stick this on.
It doesn't need heat. It's adhesive.
Yeah. And so you just stick it on.
Yep.
And give it a nice, make sure it's on there really good.
And I have had these where I've stuck it down and then worked on it for several weeks. It sticks pretty good. It stays a long time.
I've had some of mine peel up a little bit, but if you just push it down again, it goes right back down.
It's super easy. So then we'll loosen this a bit. You put the
solid
one under, and then the one with the screw in the top.
And I can see mine's not exactly center, but
it doesn't matter,
it's enough
though.
because we're going to trim it down.
Yeah, and you could fold these also in fourths if you wanted to find an exact middle, but you don't have to be all stressed out about it. So we loosen that up and press it in. I think maybe I need to loosen it a little more. I must have tightened it.
Lefty loosey.
Yeah, I must have tightened it a bit. All right.
There you go.
And you want that snug. You don't have to pull it super tight. It just needs to be tight enough,
This is the coolest stuff. I've ever used embroidering. I'm telling you, the fact that you can embroider right over it, and then you just put it in the sink for a minute, and it like whoosh.
Yep.
I love it. It's amazing.
All right, so we've got number 1, and the numbers for the flowers are printed on them, and you can flip to the number 1 card. Yep, you'll have all these stitches. There we go. Flower design number 1.
You can gather your colors. You can, I always start with the leaves. What do you start with?
I do too. I start with my green, and then I go and do my stems and my leaves.
All right, so once it's dissolved, you've got to let them dry. How did you dry yours?
So I typically just let mine flat dry, and then I press it.
I had them all over my chairs on the dining room.
Yes.
One on each chair.
I just hang them or set them on something.
Because I didn't
air
rinse
dry.
mine.
Air dry, lay flat to dry.
The first one I rinsed because I didn't believe it was going to work. And then I finished a bunch more. So then I had like 10 of them, hanging over my chairs because I rinsed them all at once because I was like, oh, this is going to work.
Yeah, I did that too. I kind of did them in batches where I had several at the same time. And if you I like to let them soak a little bit.
Yeah.
But then if it's not coming off, I'll just, it comes off really well. I get impatient.
Yeah, me too.
So, but I like to give them a good rinse, and then I kind of just squeeze them out.
I just kind of filled my sink with a little bit of warm water and just set them in there. Mm-hmm. And then they
give it a couple minutes, and then they dissolve. They come right off.
It's like a miracle, honestly.
And then I sprayed them off with my my faucet.
Yeah.
So they were nice and clean, and then just squeeze out the extra water and flatten them and let them air dry.
So then they're kind of a little ratty.
They are. They look a little wonky. So it's time to square them up.
And it's good if I think there's a 8.5 ruler under there. So
it's nice to have the right size because especially when you're fussy cutting, you can just set it down and trim all the way around it.
And this, it's nice because most rulers will have, you can see the center, they'll have a little dot or something like that.
Yeah, so we just put this right on the middle. And this is where, if your design went one way or the other, you're going to be fine. You can center it up, make it look however you want. And then we will just trim around this. And if you have a rotating mat, you can use that.
But when you cut them, they just look so clean and perfect.
They do.
And then you're just ready to add that sashing. I love that feeling of that trimming up where it just makes the whole block go.
Yes, it's brand new now. And look how beautiful. It's so clean and pretty.
That's ready to go.
And that's it. I mean, now we're going to have our
sashing,
sashing, which is 8.5 by 2.5, and we just did 4 across by 5 down. So you'll sew your sashing to your blocks and then put them together in a row. And then we have a long strip of sashing across the bottom. If you wanted to cornerstone it, that's a great idea. Then your sashings are just 8.5 by 2.5.
Yeah, so here's a 8.5, and you're literally going to stitch that to that. And add your next block.
Yeah, and we could square this one if you wanted to.
Well, we sure can.
Oh, we'll take that needle out. Are you finished?
Yeah.
Good deal.
All right, let's do it, and then we'll sew them together.
This one's a little tight.
Yeah,
I feel like maybe Dad tightened it. He's a strong man.
And the hoop thing is there's
I'll give
a lot
that
of
a quick press before
different hoops out there as well. So
and hoops are great for framing embroidery. You can just leave it in the hoop, cinch up the back.
She would leave her little embroidery in the hoop, and then she would take and stitch the back all together and glue a piece of cardboard over it, and you had a framed picture.
Yeah.
I mean, I have several of those. Like she did little tiny ones that didn't fit this size, and so
this one I'm going to put a little.
Yeah, see, this one is a little more off to the side.
Yeah.
But it's still going to end up perfect because we're going to trim it up.
That's right. These are just
so these are squares
beautiful.
I've embroidered, So this is one for me to keep because the other one will stay in the Missouri Star Library.
Oh, nice.
And so I actually have 15 done. I have 5 more to go. So I'm going to have 2 sewn together before I even finish the last of my blocks.
That's so great.
I know.
I need to make one for myself as well. Just add it to the.
Yep.
I don't know though. Do I want to mix them with Great Grandma's originals?
Maybe.
Is that okay?
I think that's okay. So when I took one apart, one of the quilts apart. And I was a clothing sewer at the time. And so all the seams are 5/8.
Oh, yeah.
You know, they're really big. And so as I took them apart, I was really able to square mine up to the same size. And I was so surprised. It's like, how did I even get these together? Because we didn't have rotary cutters when I made them. You know, they were all scissor cut. And so no straight lines.
Yeah, no kidding. Well, and they may have you ever washed those quilts?
I have.
Because then the seams on the inside might have, you know, frayed and shrunk up a little bit too.
Oh, they're so frayed. They're so frayed, yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, and so as I cut them apart, I was just like really surprised. I actually took one of our old denim jean, just a regular jean quilt apart, and I have it ready to sew. But I had your dad sit and, you know, square every one because they were all different sizes.
Yeah, he's so good about that.
It's amazing how we can actually make it work, you know. We just make do.
Shall I press that?
Let me have one more sash I can put on this side right here.
Sure. So you're ready to go?
Yeah, ready for the next one.
You should have brought your blocks. We could have just assembled them.
Right? I'm not completely done yet. But you know, one of the things that I wanted to mention is that February is National Embroidery Month, and that's why we're coming out with this in February, one of the reasons. But also, it's just such a great thing. You know, most of us want to sit at night and have something for our hands to do. And it's
it's great to travel with.
Great to travel with. It's great to sit in your chair with, you know, at the ball games. It's great to take them along. And you'll be surprised how fast you get them done. Once you get accustomed to the stitches, and we're actually going to have a whole series of films that are all just based teaching you how to do those stitches. Natalie's going to do it.
Yep, I'm pretty excited about it.
Yeah.
I just love embroidery. I've forgotten how much I love it.
Well, and embroidery is really coming back. And so once you learn...
Well, there's so many things you can do.
Right. So I was going to say, once you learn how to do a lazy daisy stitch, like they've got them on denim shirts and on the back of your jeans.
Yes,
and on
you can decorate your
and
shoes and your bags and
everything.
Little zipper pouches, hats. It's so much fun.
All right. So we've got this.
Put that up in the quilt.
Yeah, we'll show you how it fits here, right here.
So great.
And you're just going to do 4 by 5. That's 20 blocks.
And you can mix and match. You can put them in whatever order you want.
And we're periodically going to come out with more of these designs.
Oh, yeah. I think
because we have a few.
Yes.
We do have a few.
Well, Grandma gave us tons of original, beautiful floral patterns. I mean, they're just so pretty.
They're so pretty. And you know, the sweetest thing about that is that, you know, for a lot of us, we look at what we do and we immediately kind of discount it.
Yeah, we always add a just in front of it. Oh, I just did this, or I just did that.
And I think she felt that way. Oh, she's just, you know, she's just doing this.
Well, she would say, oh, I'm not creative like you, Jenny.
Yeah, she would say that.
I'm not creative. But she is.
Everybody, you know, whatever you bring to the table, it's enough. Yeah. And her stuff is beautiful.
We cherish it. We absolutely
and it will
cherish it.
Outlive
Everybody
you by generations. Yeah.
Yeah.
And this feeling of cherishing, you know, when we reproduce something that she did, that her hands were on, you know, that she touched and used. I mean, it's just so heartwarming. It just feels so good.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
and know that that's true of your art as well.
That's right.
When you're making a quilt for your loved ones, know that they will cherish it. They will love it, and it is enough. It's amazing.
They'll never give it back because the points aren't perfect.
Some of my favorite things are imperfections.
Me too.
Because it reminds me that we're real, we're human.
That's right.
I love it.
That's right. I love it too. So anyway, you're just going to put this together, add your border.
Yes.
We kind of got a little bit off track there, but you know.
Really, I mean, we're so excited to share this with you guys.
We really are.
And we hope you love it.
We do.
It's so fun
and we hope that a whole new generation loves it.
Yeah.
You know, this is a great thing, you know, where maybe your kids can't handle a sewing machine yet, but they could have a needle and thread.
Oh, I had my kids embroidering when they were young.
They have embroidery of your children.
They would draw little like Pokemon or birds or whatever things.
Little things. Yeah. And just Natalie had them stitch around it. And then they'd give it to me in a card, you know.
Yeah.
I love it. I just think it's beautiful. And so, yeah, we hope you enjoy it. We hope you love it.
Yeah. So just be creative. And remember that with the blank canvas, you can add anything you want.
That's right.
Embroidery, antique blocks, applique.
Anything you want.
handprints.
And it's, people are always saying,
you can paint on fabric.
That's right. And people are always saying, what's a great pattern when you don't want to cut your big pieces of fabric?
Oh yeah, and this is fantastic for beginners.
Sure.
Your kids can do things, grandkids,
and
friends.
That's true. As you're putting this together, remember, if they can sew, if you can sew straight on a line, and sew this far on a line, you can make this whole quilt. That's all it is. You're just sewing straight from here to here, and you've got the block all together.
Yep.
So we hope you enjoy this. We hope you use it, and
you can tell we're very excited. We can't stop talking about it. It's wonderful.
And also that we're so proud and love Ingrid as well. So we hope you enjoyed this tutorial on Ingrid's wildflowers. From me, her granddaughter, and Natalie, her great-granddaughter, and the Missouri Star Quilt Company. Hi everybody, it's Jenny from the Missouri Star Quilt Company. We hope you enjoyed watching this video. If you aren't already part of the Missouri Star Quilt Company family, be sure to subscribe so you won't miss a thing. And if you click that bell, it'll notify you every time a new tutorial comes out. See you next Friday.